On March 8, 2014, a routine flight took off from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, bound for Beijing, China. But it would become one of the greatest mysteries in aviation history. Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370, carrying 239 passengers and crew, vanished from radar, and to this day, no one knows what really happened. Was it a tragic accident, a hijacking, or something more sinister? In this video, we'll uncover the chilling facts, theories, and the search for answers behind the disappearance of Flight MH370. Flight MH370 took off from Kuala Lumpur at 12:41 a.m. just like any other routine flight. The crew was well trained and everything seemed normal. For the first 40 minutes, the flight followed its planned route. But shortly after, something went terribly wrong. At 1:19 a.m., the final communication between the cockpit and air traffic control took place. The captain, Zahari Ahmad Shah, said, "Good night, Malaysia 370," and that was the last transmission. Less than 10 minutes later, the plane's radar contact vanished from the screen. The disappearance of MH370 wasn't instantaneous. For an hour after it lost contact, military radar showed the plane still flying, but on a completely different route, heading southward across the Indian Ocean. In the immediate aftermath, the world held its breath. Search operations were launched across the South China Sea, but no wreckage was found. The search expanded to the Indian Ocean, an area known for its vastness and treacherous waters. The task was daunting, with limited resources and no clear idea of where to begin. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. On March 24th, nearly 3 weeks after the plane disappeared, Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak revealed that a satellite had picked up an automatic handshake signal from MH370, which indicated that the plane had continued flying for hours after losing radar contact. This discovery changed everything. The plane had flown far off course, and the search zone was expanded to a remote stretch of the southern Indian Ocean, an area more than 2,000 kilometers from the plane's last known location. With the vast area to cover and few clues, many theories began to surface. Some believed that MH370 experienced a catastrophic mechanical failure, while others suggested human involvement, whether in the form of a hijacking or pilot suicide. One of the most widely discussed theories was that the plane's disappearance was the result of a deliberate act by the captain, Zahari Ahmad Shah. A simulator at his home revealed that he had practiced a similar flight route, leading many to speculate that he may have intentionally diverted the plane. However, many aviation experts argue that a hijacking seems unlikely, given the lack of communication or demands made by any potential hijackers. Moreover, the airplane's sudden detour into the Indian Ocean suggested that the plane was still under control, meaning someone was still flying it. Despite the endless search, only a few pieces of wreckage were found. In July 2015, a wing flaperon washed ashore on the island of Réunion, a French territory in the Indian Ocean. This was the first confirmed piece of MH370. The discovery of the flaperon reignited hope, but it also deepened the mystery. How could a single piece of wreckage travel so far from the supposed crash site? Was this evidence of the plane crashing somewhere else, or was it proof that the plane was still flying for hours before eventually running out of fuel? The search efforts continued, with the Australian Transport Safety Bureau leading an extensive underwater search across a 120,000 square kilometer area in the southern Indian Ocean. But despite their best efforts, by January 2018, they had found no more wreckage, and the search was called off, leaving more questions than answers. The official investigation, led by the Australian government, concluded in 2018 that MH370 was most likely lost in the southern Indian Ocean. However, without the recovery of the main wreckage or the flight data recorders, the cause of the disappearance remains speculative. Theories continue to circulate, from mechanical failure to sabotage, to more sinister explanations. But with no definitive proof, the true story behind the disappearance of MH370 remains shrouded in mystery. 7 years later, the disappearance of Flight MH370 still haunts the world. The families of the 239 people aboard are left with questions, and the world is still searching for answers. Could MH370 have been an accident, or is there a darker truth waiting to be uncovered? For now, the mystery remains, and the world continues to wonder, what really happened to Flight MH370? As we await new developments, one thing is clear. The disappearance of MH370 has forever changed the way we think about aviation, security, and the unknown.